Hi everybody, this is Chad the Gaming Dad here on Dad's Games, once again doing another Father Knows Best. This is the Memorial Day edition. Yes, it's the beginning of Memorial Day weekend here in 2017, and I thought, what better time than now on Father Knows Best to discuss what this weekend is all about, and I have a really cool twist as far as getting it back to video games. So, also, by the way, look, new shirts are out. So if anybody wants one of these bad boys, check the link in the description. They are on sale and oh so comfortable. So there's my sales pitch for you. All right, so Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people get excited because it's the beginning of summer, school's about to let out, all kinds of fun things are happening. But really, as many of us know, but can always be reminded that it's about more than that. It's about remembering everyone that paid the ultimate price, sacrificed for our country. Now, this is a United States holiday, I would assume, but I'm sure a lot of other countries have days like this too, and they also have had soldiers and people that fought for them, just like we have here in America. So, anyway, I got to thinking about Memorial Day, and it led me to think of my grandfather. My grandfather, his name is George, and he was a pretty cool dude. He was in the Army in World War II, actually was a sergeant, and fought in Italy. So he actually saw probably some stuff that most of us have only seen in a video game, and thank God for that, right? Because to him, it wasn't, PlayStation. This was real life and death, right? As it was with many of these people that were supposed to be thinking about this weekend. I mean, just in my family alone, I have a whole bunch of relatives that most of which are still here. Some of them are not. I've got cousins, uncles, fathers, father-in-laws, second cousins, all kinds of people, and even all of you out there, any of you watching that served in the military, my hat is off to you. You don't want to see what's under here. It's a mess, but hat's back on. But the hat was off for you because none of us would be able to do all this cool stuff that we get to do without what you guys have done to protect everything. So with that said, thank you very much. But this video on Father Knows Best is going to be more or less me reminiscing and telling you a little bit about my grandfather, George, okay? And here's how it ties into video games. You see, I was thinking about him here on Memorial Day, and he died a long time ago, probably like 95 or 4, something like that. But when I was a kid, this guy he came along long before there were video games, right? But he was a gamer. He loved playing games. He loved doing things with other people. Every time when I was a little kid, we'd go over to my grandparents' house. They always had people over. People don't really do that as much these days. But back then, his kitchen table was always filled with friends from the neighborhood. And they wouldn't just sit there and do nothing. They were playing games. He had an entire room just stacked filled with board games. All kinds of like normal board games, all the way to some weird ones. He had one that me and my cousins used to always try to look at. It was called Pass Out. It's a board game called Pass Out. I think the object of the game is, you have to make the other people drink so much they pass out or something. I mean, I don't think you can get away with that today, but he had that game, as well as many others. They would sit around and play Yahtzee. Trivial Pursuit was a big deal back then in the 80s, but he was a gamer, right? It's not just video games that makes you want to be a gamer. It's just the love of playing games, and especially playing games with other people. A lot of people here in America like to play cornhole, they call it. It's basically just a piece of wood with a hole in it, and you throw bean bags and try to get it in the hole. That's a really rough description of it. I'm sure there's scoring and all that. I never really got into it that much, but when I was a kid, long before anybody was throwing beanbags and calling it cornhole and everything, at least not around here, he had actually built boxes, like wooden boxes about this big with holes in them, and he painted them up real nice and made beanbags, and we used to call it playing beanbags, not playing cornhole. And so what I'm trying to get at, being a gamer and being someone who loves video games or gaming in general isn't a new thing. It's just that our generation is really the first one that's been playing video games ever since we're little kids, but people in general have been playing games forever. I mean, you know, whether it's card games back in the old Wild West or something, I mean, it's games all the time. But here's the really cool thing about my grandpa George. He wasn't stuck in the past. He wasn't stuck with just his board games and his friends from the neighborhood and stuff. He really understood what was going on. You see, I'm one of many grandkids that he had that would be in and out of his house all the time. There was always people there. My dad's one of 5 kids that my grandpa had, and they all had kids, and so there's a million of us, right? And so when the Atari came out in the 80s, if you've been watching my videos, you've heard me mention a bunch of times, hey, playing Atari at my grandpa's house, right? And so because of all this that was going on at his house all the time, he decided to go out and get an Atari when it was new. You know, that was pretty cool, because he wasn't, you know, he was already a grandpa. He wasn't like some young kid that wanted to play Atari. He went out and got Atari. We had Missile Command, we had Asteroids, we had that new Pac-Man, which is amazing. I recommend Pac-Man all day long, but actually, at the time, everybody makes fun of Pac-Man, but at the time, it was Pac-Man. It was good enough. I mean, we were kids, he chomped stuff, it was great. So anyway, that's where it all started for me, playing the Atari at my grandpa's house that he bought for me and all of my cousins to play when we were hanging out over at grandpa's house, right? When our parents were there and everything. It was a really cool thing. A huge part of my childhood that I'll never forget is just playing Atari at grandpa's house, and then because it was the early to mid 80s, MTV was a big deal, and he had MTV on his cable as well. It's a hip dude, right? And so I hear all these 80s songs and stuff that are playing now and playing Atari games. If I turn on 80s music and I turn on my 2600, I'm at my grandpa's house. That's where I'm at. Super cool. But it doesn't stop there, you see, because my grandpa understood the fun of games. He understood why people liked them. Normally the adults, the people that are a little older than you, are always like, you're wasting your time with those damn video games. They'll rot your brain, blah, 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 that whole thing. He wasn't like that. He understood the fun of it and everything. My NES, my original NES that I have sitting right back there, this very NES right here, Nintendo Entertainment System, I would not have this in my hand today if it wasn't for my grandfather George. You see, my dad was on a business trip because my grandparents lived a couple hours away in a different town. My dad was working there, and they went out one night, and they're just hanging out, and he was telling my grandpa, the kids want this thing. I don't know, it's some game thing. I don't know, it costs too much money. I don't think I'm going to buy it. And my grandpa looked at him and said, well, what is it? And my dad told him, it's this Nintendo thing. And grandpa was like, oh, okay, yeah. They got them over at the store. Why don't we just go get one? And my dad's like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, I'll buy it. Let's go. So they left the bar that they were hanging out with, talking and stuff. He went with my dad, bought us the NES. And it wasn't just this. We got the one with the power pad and everything. Still have that back in the closet there. But he just forked over the money, said, here, buy it, take it home to the kids, they'll love it. And we did. Me and my sister played the crap out of this. And it's this one. This isn't a different one. This is the one that he bought for us. Mwah. Sometimes I think I'm a lot like that guy because of the fact that I just like having a lot of fun. I really enjoy games. And honestly, he was always kind of trying to entertain people too. I'm sure that if he was here today, not only would he be playing games and stuff with me, but he'd also be making videos on YouTube. Here's a little clip of something. My dad had bought a new camera at the time and was just hanging out at Grandpa's house, and they decided to just throw together some goofy little skit just to, to play with the new camera that my dad got. And in this video, the skit that he comes up with, my grandfather decides that he's going to tell me and my sister the history of our family as if he was somebody from another country. He puts on an accent and acts all crazy and changes his hats over and over again to talk about the different things in his life. Here, I'll show it to you. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll just show you a couple little clips of it here. Good old George.
Good evening, Herr Heinrich.
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend, and you're nabbing, and you're nabbing too.
I am here to tell my grandchildren, Shad and Lee, that the real name is not Kostspiel, it's Kuschspiel. And Kuschspiel in German means kiss and play. I have kissed and played many times in my life. And then they had you two. They had Chad, the football player. They had Lee, the pianist. And I have never become nothing. The only thing I can play is the radio. And that's why. Right now, I still know nothing. But to drink beer and they call me Goofy. Yeah, auf Wiedersehen. That means good night, my little ones.
So there you have it on Memorial Day. I'm thinking about everybody and thanking everybody out there who has served in the military, but more specifically tonight on this video, I'm thinking about my grandfather George and how not only am I remembering him on Memorial Day for his service, but also because all of this, video games, a lot of it has to do with what he did for me and my cousins and everybody. So, with that said, here's to you, Grandpa. Let's play our games and call us Goofy. I'm telling you, I really wish that he was around right now because I was too young to be able to really talk to him like an adult. You know, I really wish I could go out and just sit down and have a beer with Grandpa right now and talk about all the kind of things and stuff. So anyway, if you have people in your family that you'd like to talk to, make sure you take the time to do that. And remember all the people that you need to be thinking about this weekend as we begin summer, as we begin all this fun stuff here on Memorial Day. And just like always, till next time, remember, you never outgrow video games. My name's Chad the Gaming Dad, and this is Dad's Games. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. So long, everybody.
Good night, George.
Thanks again for watching. If you liked that video, please press like and subscribe. I love hearing from you guys, so leave your comments and any suggestions down below. Remember, there's tons of other gamers out there just like you and me, and they also know that you never outgrow video games. Feel free to share these videos all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever you use. This channel is for all of us. Let's make sure they know that they are not alone. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.